Hi, I'm Angel. I want to tell you 3 reasons that maybe you shouldn't build with tires. I just made a video earlier today about 3 reasons that I do like to build with tires, and I'm down here in the bottom section of the Head Hutt, which needs cleaning, is overdue. But I thought I would just show off some of what I have done with tires. This is a retaining wall that's plastered over with adobe and lime. And so you can see there's no trace of tires. I did actually leave a little trace of the unevenness before I poured a solid bond beam on top of that. And here you can see remnants of this is the retaining wall as it wraps around. And then these were additional tires that I used for stairs, which is a great use for them as well. However, back to my original point, there are many reasons you might not want to build with tires. And the top 3 that came to my mind today include they are much dirtier and heavier than you might think. They're dirty and heavy, boy, girl. And yeah, you're going to get real filthy. Not only are they made of dirty, filthy rubber and plastic, but the ones that you're going to be using usually to build with have already been used and have driven around. So they finished off gassing mostly, but they are covered in all the grime that is on the streets. It's nasty. Yeah, and they're not light. So there's that. So even though they are low-tech building material, they can be challenging to work with because of the filth and the heaviness. Another thing is that they can be very hard to get a permit for. Not impossible, and it depends on where you are. And I do recommend that if you're building a substantial project like an actual house, that you look into those regulations before you get too far into it and really understand that. Here in New Mexico, we have some rammed earth laws, what am I trying to say? Codes. And there are at least one, if not a few, architects and engineers who will work with that to help get a permit. But it does take time, it takes planning. And the trick that I've found is that it's tricky to get all the tires lined up legally and the permit all lined up and then the labor done in time. I've got a mosquito in here bugging me. So that's number 2, permitting. And number 3, that has just flown out of my mind like the mosquito in here. Number 3 reason that you might not want to build with tires is they're ugly, I guess. That wasn't the reason I was thinking of, but until it's a valid reason that I think concerns a lot of people. They're both ugly to accumulate and sort through and get ready to build with, and that can be an issue for neighbors. It was an issue for mine. And they're ugly when they're unfinished. Down here you can see, trying to point you down here. So here are some of the ones that aren't plastered over. They're not quite as bad when they're covered, but when they're not covered, they're tires. They're not very nice to look at. So they can be, again, depending on how long it takes to finish construction, they can be, that can be a downside. So 3 downsides, reasons you might not want to use tires. They're dirty and heavy. Maybe that's 2 reasons. It can be hard to get permitting, and there can be problems with legality. And 3, they're pretty ugly to look at until you get them covered up and used properly. So let me know if that's helpful at all. If you have any other questions, if you have any to add, if you're someone who's worked with tires and some things are coming to your mind, I would love it if you add that. I'm getting out of the mosquito zone down there. Those are some hungry mosquitoes. I'm gonna come back and clean down here. But again, this is the lower portion of the Head Hutt, and you can find a book I wrote about this structure on Amazon, and there's a link to that below. It's Head Hutt with 2 T's at the end. And yeah, I welcome your questions and comments. I wish you a fantastic day, and I'd like to remind you to be good to you because you're worth it. Stay free.